people.
Tonight at 6, staying on track with SunRail.
The stage is set for a ceremonial kickoff to SunRail. I'm Gail Pascal Brown with late-breaking details coming up.
Live.
I'm Bob Keeling. Coming up, the Anthony's lawyer says that George and Cindy refused to be a decoy for their daughter. Coming up, how that's driving an even bigger wedge between them and their daughter.
Late breaking.
A tragic accident happens in a matter of seconds. A local toddler is killed, run over by a dump truck. WESH News at 6 starts right now.
Tonight at 6, tragedy strikes a family that is familiar with heartbreak. A toddler runs out into the street and is struck by a dump truck and killed. Good evening. I'm Jim Payne.
I'm Martha Sigalski. The 2.5-year-old boy was holding his grandmother's hand, then dashed into the road. It all happened near the family's home on Osteen-Maytown Road at Dixon Lake Road in Volusia County.
WESH 2's Claire Metz reports that child is the grandson of a major with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office.
This is a law enforcement tragedy as well. The victim is the grandson of a Seminole County Sheriff's deputy, Major Cliff Manley. The 2-year-old was here at his grandparents' home, as he so often is, and slipped away from Grandma.
We know how quick kids can get away from our grip, and we know that this is just truly a tragedy.
Loved ones say 2.5-year-old Antonio Nelson was a precious child, a real sweetheart, standing in the front yard with his grandmother one moment, the next dead in the road after running into the path of a fully loaded dump truck.
Grandmother was in the grass area with him, hand in hand, and he broke from her grip. She tried to retrieve him, trying to get him to come back from the road, and he just continued on.
Troopers say the driver of the privately owned truck, 27-year-old Timothy Simmons, seen here with investigators, was hauling trash and couldn't stop in time. His rear tire ran over the child. The posted speed limit is 30 miles an hour, and though some neighbors insist the driver was over that, so far the evidence doesn't support a high rate of speed.
He was always running around and jumping and playing, and he was just a wonderful little kid.
Relatives say the death of this child adds insult to injury. Deputy Manley and his wife lost a grown daughter in a car crash. She was the victim's aunt. And a cousin, this 14-year-old, was injured in a drive-by shooting a few years back. Their pastor says once more the community will come together to help in the healing.
Just got to keep the faith and keep trusting, and we got to hold each other up now. We need a support group.
Troopers did not identify the child's parents, though we do know his mother has been here at her parents', the grandparents' home, much of the day. In Osteen, Volusia County, Claire Metz, WESH 2 News.
Covering Orange County, investigators are trying to piece together details after the body of a woman is found about a mile from the Florida Mall. Homicide investigators were called out to the 8,000 block of President's Drive. The body was found in the parking lot of a vacant business.
What do you think about this?
It's kind of scary, to be honest with you, and something that happens so close to where you work every day. You never know when something's going to happen. So, yeah, it's concerning. So.
The victim has not been identified, and it's unclear how the woman died. We now know the name of the woman whose body was found in the Halifax River behind the River Club condos in South Daytona. She is 57-year-old Diane Trickett. Her boyfriend, walking the dog, spotted her body early this morning. She was floating near the shoreline in the 3100 block of South Ridgewood Avenue. The medical examiner is trying to determine how this woman died.
The search is on tonight for a gunman after a man was shot in the chest outside the Orlando Sentinel building. Police say that shooting happened in the rear loading dock area of the newspaper building off Magnolia Avenue and Concord Street. The victim was seriously wounded. He has not been named. He's being treated at Orlando Regional Medical Center.
Where is Casey Anthony? She walked out of jail a free woman early Sunday morning, quickly escorted to a waiting SUV, and right now we don't know where she is. The one thing missing at Casey's release over the weekend, the presence of her parents.
George and Cindy Anthony were not at the jail as Casey made her walk to freedom. Their lawyer, Mark Lipman, told WESH 2 News the Anthonys refused to act as decoys for their daughter's release.
WESH 2's Bob Keeling is live at the Orange County Courthouse with more on why this has driven the wedge even further between them, Bob.
Well, Martha, the Anthony's lawyer says that all they know is their daughter is safe. Beyond that, they don't know where she is. Meanwhile, Casey's attorney, Cheney Mason, said that the Anthony's refusal to act as a decoy is just another reason why the Anthony's should not expect any kind of rekindled relationship with Casey. Her smiling face early Sunday is the last confirmed sighting we've had of Casey Anthony. In an interview with NBC today, her attorney, Cheney Mason, said he's not hiding her.
She's not in our house. She's not at my condominium. She's not in any of my property anywhere.
No idea.
The Anthony's attorney, Mark Littman, says they don't know where Casey is, but have been told she's safe. He confirmed the couple refused a request from Jose Baez to be decoys during the release.
It was a safety issue. Mr. Baez had everything well in hand.
Mason cited the Anthonys' refusal to take part in the diversion as one more reason they should not count on having a renewed relationship with their daughter.
Mr. Baez wanted some of their family to help with the decoy process to get her out of jail, and they wouldn't even do that. So I don't think they should expect a whole lot from Casey. She expects nothing from them.
Mason said he was at his beach condominium when the SUV carrying Anthony disappeared into the parking garage of the Bank of America building where his offices are located. He would only say that Casey is surrounded by her new family now, and others are volunteering the services Anthony needs.
We have mental health professionals that have volunteered their time and services in various capacities. She has her family, which she defines as us, and nobody's quitting on her. None of the team that tried the case are quitting or going anywhere.
Now, Mason said if someone spends enough time and money, it might be possible to find Casey Anthony, but if they do, they're not going to be able to see her, approach her, talk to her, and if you blink, she'll be long gone. Reporting live in downtown Orlando, I'm Bob Keeling, WESH 2 News.
The meter reader who found Caylee Anthony's remains is fed up with hearing his name trashed and has taken legal action.
Roy Kronk has filed a lawsuit and says more are on the way. Kronk and his attorney, Howard Marks, claim one big offender is the man they're now suing, bounty hunter Leonard Padilla. Marks says Padilla repeatedly defamed his client in the national media. And although they're not offering up any names, Kronk's lawyer says more lawsuits could be in the works.
There are a variety of people out there that were making defamatory statements against Mr. Kronk. I won't get into those names, but we're certainly looking at that, and don't be surprised if you do see some other lawsuits in the future.
Those names could include high-profile members of the media. The statute of limitations on these suits is 2 years. You can watch all of the video of Casey's release on our website. We also have a discussion about what you think will happen next. Check out the extended coverage section at WESH.com.
Tropical storm Brett in the Atlantic having a promising effect on our Central Florida weather. Chief Meteorologist Tony Manoffi, you're tracking this storm.
And I tell you what, Martha, right now we're getting on the backside of this storm. So we're getting that dry air, that northwesterly and northwesterly wind flow. So that is actually giving us some fantastic weather right now. But let me give you the updated statistics now from the National Hurricane Center. Beginning to move more towards the north-northeast now at about 7 miles an hour. We'll go ahead and put that track up there for you as it takes that jaunt back towards the north and east. Could become a minimal hurricane within the next 24 hours. Thereafter, we think the wind shear and the cooler waters here, southwestern Bermuda, will be a limiting factor on future growth. But the bottom line for us, we're on the backside of this, and that means some very good weather over the next couple of days. The heat will be increasing. We'll be talking more about that. But now is the time to get your action plans kicked into high gear. Log on to WESH.com to get all the information on Brett and your hurricane kits ready for the season. Guys, back to you.
Tony, thank you. Fireworks may have caused a fire at a local apartment complex. Crews responded to a call on the 6,000 block of Lake Weston Point Lane. Witnesses say a kid was playing with fireworks near a column that caught on fire. The building was evacuated. Once firefighters arrived on the scene, that fire was quickly put out.
Late breaking, local investigators say they have taken down a local trafficking ring, a sex trafficking ring that forced 2 teenage girls to have sex with men, some for money. So far, 9 men and 1 woman have been arrested by Orange County detectives. The 15-year-olds ran away from Lakeland to have fun in Orlando. What they found was massive abuse. Investigators say they were raped, passed around a group of men, and one of the girls forced into prostitution.
I definitely think these are predators that look for young, naive girls to take advantage of, and unfortunately they had 2 of them and they used them.
Girls are now safe. Right now, 2 men are still on the run. Tonight on WESH 2 News at 11, hear from the only woman accused of being involved in this sex ring.
Kissimmee police arrest 2 teens they believe are linked to multiple car burglaries in the city. 18-year-old Macario Rincon was taken into custody along with a 14-year-old. Officers were initially at the Arrow Ridge Apartments on a trespassing call. While talking to the suspects, investigators say they found stolen items in a backpack on one of the teens.
The Republican U.S. Senate race is a little bit tighter tonight. Mike Herodopoulos is dropping out of next year's race. Herodopoulos made that announcement today, said he could not effectively serve as Senate president and also devote the time necessary for a successful bid. Herodopoulos' campaign was in trouble as his fundraising totals had dropped dramatically, and two key staff members announced over the weekend that they were leaving his campaign.
Keeping SunRail on the right track, U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood in town today to kick off Phase 1 of Central Florida's first ever commuter rail system.
WESH 2's Gail Pasco-Brown has the late-breaking details on the SunRail project.
Scores of people brave this heat to celebrate Central Florida's first ever commuter rail line. This is one of the stations.
Central Florida got its act together, and look what's happening. SunRail is coming.
With that, U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood pledged $53 million in federal funds to Central Florida's first ever commuter rail system.
SunRail is becoming a reality because our governments stood together in historic fashion and said in one voice, SunRail is critical to our future.
SunRail is a 61.5-mile commuter rail line connecting Volusia, Seminole, Osceola, and Orange counties with the city of Orlando. It will be built in 2 phases and is expected to be up and running by May of 2014.
I think about the fact that Florida has 11% unemployment, and we're going to put about 11,000 people to work. That is great. And we're going to take off about 40,000 people off of the highways, and that's going to help with congestion, and this is the beginning. We're going to have this great commuter line, but one day, I've got to tell you, we're going to have high-speed rail in Florida, too. I'm committed to that.
So how much will it cost you to ride SunRail? Well, the exact determination hasn't been made just yet, but according to the website, riders can expect an average of $2.50 for travel in one county, $1 per additional county. I'm Gail Pasco-Brown in Orlando for WESH 2 News.
Talk about leading police right to the suspect. A swan is swiped at Lake Eola. Follow the feathers. Some very important clues led officers to the accused thief.
And the space program may have come to a close for now in Brevard County. As we look ahead to the future, space expert Dan Billow shows us the memento astronauts left behind on the space station.
Good evening, everybody. Coming up here tonight, where the dangerous heat has settled in across this country to stay and how many million Americans are affected by it. That and more when we see you for Nightly News.
A year-long independent weather study conducted by Weather Rate proves WESH 2 First Alert Weather is Central Florida's most accurate forecast.
Time and temperature from TD Bank.
Closed captioning sponsored by Safe Touch Security.
Local, live, late breaking. This is WESH 2 News at 6 with Martha Zagowski, Jim Payne, weather with Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi, and sports with Guy Rawlings. This is WESH 2 News at 6 in high definition.
Space shuttle astronauts have left the International Space Station forever.
The hatch was closed late this morning. Astronauts are back in Atlantis for the last ride home.
WESH 2 space expert Dan Billow reports on what the astronauts left behind.
No other space shuttle astronauts will visit the space station, but someday, when the next generation of astronauts launches from the Cape, they'll come back with what the astronauts left behind today. For the last time, space shuttle astronauts said goodbye to space station astronauts. It's the 37th time a shuttle has visited the space station, from back when it started as a single can-shaped lab until now, when it's a proud international complex sprawling over an area larger than an acre of ground. The shuttle astronauts had brought up a historic flag, flown on the very first space shuttle mission 30 years ago, and now flown on the last.
And when we close that hatch, when these guys go by it, we're closing a chapter in the history of our nation.
The flag can be reclaimed only by the next crew of astronauts launched off American soil. When will that be? Someday. The astronauts gave it a hopeful spin.
It will leave low Earth orbit once again, perhaps to a lunar destination, perhaps to Mars.
With the flag mounted on the hatch, the shuttle astronauts disappeared down it, and then the hatch was closed.
And now you see the closed hatch. Never again will we see a space shuttle open through that doorway.
Private industry is targeting 2015 for the next launch of American astronauts from American soil, and that will take generous infusions of government cash. In the Cape Canaveral newsroom, Dan Billow, WESH 2 News.
The next ride to space for Americans might be on a descendant of the rocket that launched John Glenn, the Atlas. Private companies are already planning to put their proposed spaceships on Atlas rockets. Today, NASA made that official by signing an agreement with the company that launches the Atlas. NASA and United Launch Alliance are working together on the Atlas V.
A trail of feathers and a series of honks lead investigators to an accused swan thief. They arrested 24-year-old Jeffrey Smart this morning after police got a 911 call that a man was walking away from Lake Eola with a swan. Investigators found the bird in Smart's backyard. They say he didn't offer up a motive. Orlando police took this picture of the white swan in the back of the patrol car shortly after the swan was recovered. That swan has since been returned to Lake Eola. Smart is currently facing animal cruel charges. Smart's bond is set at $2,800. A delivery man who was dropping off goods slams his car right through a Kissimmee restaurant. Chopper 2 is right there after the corner bistro on US 192 got hit. These pictures give you a look at the damage inside the building. Luckily, nobody was hurt here. No word on what caused the accident.
Beautiful weather here in Central Florida, courtesy of Tropical Storm Brett.
Yeah, anytime you're on the back side of a tropical feature, you get that drier air working on it. And let me show you what it looks like out there right now, Martha. Nice job picking that out. Gorgeous weather there tonight. Fantastic day Tuesday. I think Tuesday's the pick day of the week. The humidity values will be coming up thereafter. But let's show you where Brett is. Roughly about 205 miles due east of the Cape there. Not a very large storm system, but it does appear to be getting better and better organized. And there is a ragged eye that is trying to develop. In case you're just getting home, the latest winds are now up to 70 miles an hour. For good reason. Hurricane hunters were in there earlier this afternoon, and at 5,150 feet, which is the flight level today, they found winds of 69 miles an hour. That's why we've bumped up the intensity on Brett this afternoon. Remember, it's right over the Gulf Stream, so water temperatures here is about 82, 83 degrees. So it's beginning to take that jaunt now more towards the northeast at about 7 miles an hour. The overall path away from the United States, away from Central Florida, and in between just west of Bermuda. You can see the symmetry here getting a little bit better organized as it's beginning to lift up towards the northeast, but it is beginning to pull in that drier air. Fantastic weather. This was the shot from Mike Moore's lens earlier this afternoon as Brett was just offshore. A definitive back edge, the drier air working in on the backside of that storm system. Great looking shot there. You can see all of the shower activity now on the wane and pulling well south and east of us. So the forecast for tonight, drier air works in, more comfy, at least for this time of the year. Some folks will be waking up to temperatures in the 60s. That will be north and west of Orlando. As we take a look at the current temps, really not that bad out there. Mid-80s along the coast, mid and upper 80s as you work inland, and by 7 a.m., 71 in town. But the real story, the kind of chill in the air for some folks, considering where we've been. 66 in Ocala, 69 Claremont, 69 Palm Coast, Daytona Beach. And by the way, the record low for Daytona Beach, 68 degrees. So we're going to be close to a record low in Daytona Beach come daybreak tomorrow morning. Now, during the afternoon, bye-bye Brett, hello sunshine, northerly wind flow means a fantastic Tuesday afternoon. But if you headed to the beaches, just watch the rough surf and the rip currents. We're talking about seas now running about 2 to 3 feet. Afternoon highs near shore, near 90. Inland high temperatures about 93 degrees. And it'll be up and away from there, as you're about to see on the 7-day forecast. Gorgeous in the morning, spectacular in the afternoon. In between 93 degrees. We take you into your wonderful Wednesday. Rain chances going up a little bit, but note the temp now, 95 degrees. And as we venture ahead into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, afternoon high temperatures, Jim, 95, 96. Rain chances by the weekend at 30%.
We've been warned. Tony, thanks. Are you ready for some football? I know I am, Guy.
Yeah, me too. League owners and players are reportedly nearly ready for some football. I'll have an NFL lockout update next in sports. Plus, disappointment for the Americans at the Women's World Cup.
WESH 2 weather brought to you by Toyota of Orlando on West Colonial Drive.
The 4-month NFL lockout could be lifted by week's end. Lawyers for both sides continue to hammer out details of a new collective bargaining agreement. Owners from the league's 32 teams will meet Thursday in Atlanta, where they hope to ratify a new deal. We're less than 3 weeks away from the first scheduled preseason game. From football to football, lots of water cooler talk today about Team USA's disappointing loss in the Women's World Cup. The Americans allowed Japan to come back not once, but twice, then suffered their first loss ever to that country on penalty kicks. The players left their Frankfurt hotel this morning, saddened, but still strong.
I mean, pretty devastated, obviously, losing the World Cup final, but, you know, I think we have a lot to be proud of, and we're going back to a country that's extremely proud of us, and, you know, that means a lot, so we got to keep our chins up.
Darren Clark giving 40-somethings hope that there's still time to do big things in life. The 42-year-old winning his first golf major, the Open Championship. American hopefuls Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson gave the Northern Irishman a run for his pound sterling, but Clark solidified his lead with an eagle on the 7th hole and never looked back. With Rory McIlroy's and Graham McDowell's U.S. Open victories, 3 of golf's last 6 major winners hail from Northern Ireland, and Clark hopes to share this victory with them.
You know, we've got 3 major champions in such a short period of time from our little country, so it's just wonderful. So hopefully they'll be all out celebrating, and no doubt I will see a lot of them later this week doing the same thing again. I think it's a bad week for my Weight Watchers to start.
And we're expecting an announcement tomorrow involving Tampa Bay Lightning and the City of Orlando exhibition hockey coming to the Amway Center. Details expected at an afternoon press conference. That's a look at sports. More news after this.